Welcome to Amy Learns to Cook. I'm Eric, and on today's show we're going to make a beer can chicken. Beer can chickens are great because, well, it's got beer, right? You put the chicken on the beer can and the steam from the beer does what it's got to do. And basically the bird just comes out really juicy, moist, flavorful. And if you're using charcoal, then you've got that smoky goodness. And if you're using gas, well, it still tastes good. But anyways, won't you join me as we make a beer can chicken? So beer can chicken is pretty fun because in its purest form, there's very little cleanup, right? We just put a bird on the beer can, right? And then you cook it in your grill, and then that's it, right? When you're done, you just throw the beer can away. If you use other things, well, then you got to wash them. I want to show you a few varieties of things here because if you've never done it, these are things you got to think about. So you can go with a tall beer can like this, right? Pros, it gives you plenty of beer for the cook and plenty for the chicken. You can go with a standard beer can, which is probably half the height, but is it going to be tall enough to keep the bird off the grate? The goal is the bird is going to be up in the air off the grate, right? I mean, we're not talking about laying it down or anything, but we're just talking about, is the bird just going to be all over the place in a mess? So too short of a beer can, that's not good. Beer can this tall might be a problem if you have a short lid. For example, if you have a Weber kettle grill, they tend to have low lids. And if your bird is exceptionally large, that's not a good thing, right? If you got like a little 3-pound bird, a normal beer can's good. A bigger bird might need more height. So that's a problem. But this can also be unstable because it's too high of a center of gravity. It can knock over and then you get a big old mess, right? Waste of beer, waste of the bird. Foster's and other brands similar are kind of cool because they tend to be shorter but wider. So it makes it more stable versus something like this, right? So this is a consideration. But then there's also other products out there that can also provide more stability and a lower profile. So for example, this is something from Weber where you got a nice Y to it. You just basically remove this part, put whatever liquid you want in there. Beer, for example, or you can use broth, apple juice, put some seasoning, whatever you want to put in there. Put this back on. It's got little holes for the steam to escape. And then you put your bird on. And then this actually has a little neck plug that you just go ahead and put obviously in the bird's neck, and that keeps the steam from escaping and it just does a better job. So that's pretty cool. Also, it has the added benefit that you can collect drippings to make gravy. Obviously, if you're doing this in a smoker, you might have a little bit too much of a smoky taste for that. If you're using gas grill or not using much charcoal, then you might have a better shot of that working for you. So that's a pretty good thing to keep in mind here. So let's get started with getting our bird ready. Food safety. Before we touch the bird and get all funky-fied, open your beer can. And if you're actually going to be mounting the bird on your beer can, as 99% of you will be doing, then reserve some for yourself. Either drink it now and deal with the bird later, or pour this into another vessel to hold the beer while we're doing the whole process. In this case, since I'm actually going to be using my Weber for this, I have a pre-amount of beer that I know I can put in there, and that's all the bird gets. By definition, I get the rest. So this is actually convenient for me too, for that purpose. So what I'm going to do here is give some to the bird, right? Oh yeah, that's good stuff. So we're going to reserve that for later. So first thing I'm going to do here with this is go ahead and get the bird on here. Now we've already, in our case, and this is not required, but it's something that we do, is I already brined the bird for about 3 hours. I have a video on a quick brine for birds and pork chops, and that actually works pretty well. So here, the bird's on, we're good. But what we're going to do for flavor is we're going to put a little bit of barbecue rub in here. I'm just going to go ahead and just give myself a little bit of room, wiggle room with my thumbs here. And if you have an assistant, that makes things a little easier for you. Then just have them sprinkle the rub in while you go ahead and hold the skin loose. If you're just doing it by yourself, then just go ahead and just make sure you pour what you think you're going to use into a bowl, so that way you don't contaminate it. Last thing I'd like to see is have somebody try to reuse rub that's already touched this bird, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and reach in, put some in the back here. So we're just putting it down the sides of the breast, down the back a little bit, and also down the cavity. And that's about all we're really going to get to while we're doing this. And then another thing you can do, and this is just maybe for looks, if you're not going to eat the skin, it doesn't matter. We don't eat the skin, so we don't do this most of the time. But for you, you can go ahead and dab a little bit of oil. And this is no different than when you cook like a turkey or something for Thanksgiving, right? Is you might want to dab a little oil, so that way it turns a really beautiful color when it's roasting. In this case, we're basically roasting a chicken, except we're not putting any aromatics in it, and it's vertical as opposed to laying horizontal in a roasting pan. That's one of the biggest differences here, right? So not going to waste too much time. We're just putting some on here, and then that way when it's done, you'll go ooh, ah, ee. It looks good, right? And you'll want to eat it. So hopefully we'll inspire you to go ahead and try to do one of these yourselves. So that's about good. So we have one more chicken. We bought this at a club, so it has a 2-pack. So we're going to get that going in a second, and then we'll be out in the grill. So we're outside here where I got my Weber kettle grill. I've already got the charcoal all lit. We're good to go. I just put a couple of pecan chunks on to give us a little bit of smoke, and then we're getting ready here to put the birds on. In this case, 2 of these birds will fit. It's very hot, and we're going to have to rotate them periodically to make sure they cook evenly, of course. Because I do have a concern that my lid is a little low. They do fit, but it might brown a little unevenly, so to speak. So I might have to use aluminum foil or something partially to cook. From previous experience, these are about 5.5-pound birds. It's going to take about an hour with the amount of charcoal I got. Obviously your cooking times will vary, so you may need to monitor yours with temperature probe, or just take an instant read periodically. Hopefully you can poke it somewhere where you won't lose a lot of juice. But once these things start turning golden, it's going to be hard to keep people away. They're that good. So the birds are sizzling already, and I'm going to put the lid on, and we'll be back in just a little bit to check on them. So we went ahead and put some foil on the meat because the tops were starting to burn just because, or get brown just because of proximity to the lid. So that helped protect them a little bit while the rest cooked. So we took an instant read thermometer and checked some points, and we're ready to pull these things off now. So now we're ready to remove our chicken from the this holder here. This little neck thing's kind of hot, so we just do that really quick. I'm using things called bear claws, if I hold them right. These guys are pretty cool because with these you can pull things, like if you're going to pull pork. Forks probably work on chicken better. These are just too aggressive for chicken. But they're good to just pick up hot things because you don't burn yourself, right? And this is a good example. See how good that was? And then we'll just put him back there. So with the chicken here, we can slice it, we can pull it. There's all kinds of things we do. We got some good drippings here for gravy, so we can do mashed potatoes with gravy. So this bird is really versatile. In our case, we're going to go ahead and do some chicken and a vegetable, some mashed potatoes for dinner, and then the other bird will just do that for food for the week, like a lunch. So what I'm going to do here right now is cut up one of these little legs here. I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of some of that skin there. And usually they just fall apart, right? Because it's done, right? This other one is probably just going to fall apart too. See? It's done. When these birds are done, they just disintegrate really easy. So, and then we're going to go ahead and take a, it's about right there, I think, for the breast. Then we just cut on the side here. And should pull it off. So you should be able to see, I mean, this thing's just oozing with moisture. So if you have any thoughts that breasts are always dry and nasty, then you're doing something wrong. There are ways to cook chicken to where it's juicy and very flavorful. Brining helps. In this case, steaming helps a little bit as well. Not overcooking. In this case, Amy likes, she's a germaphobe, we know that, right? It's well documented. But she likes her chicken cooked well over the recommended temperature. 160 is food safe, 165 is generally recommended. So generally between 165 and 175 is generally a good range. Amy likes around 180. Sometimes if we're not careful, we'll go outside that range and it's still juicy just because that's how it comes out. So we're definitely going to get this guy cut up and we're going to have a wonderful dinner. So let me go ahead and take a little taste here to confirm that this is actually tasty, right? No proof till we eat it, even though it smells good and looks good. So the chicken is juicy. It's not rubbery at all. It's got good chew to it. It's really flavorful. The rub definitely helps. The smoke, in this case, helps. And the brine itself helps. Really a lot of good flavors. One thing we didn't do that you definitely can try is whether you do it in the beer or if you try something similar to the Weber, is you can put rub, if you want, in your liquid. And then that way when it steams, it can inject that as well if you like. But this is outstanding. Very versatile. This would be perfect if you just want to slice and make sandwiches out of, or just rip a piece and eat it with your bare hands. If you like this video, please subscribe, give us a like, leave a comment, and also visit us on amylearnstocook.com. And we're also on Pinterest and Twitter at Amy Learns to Cook. And I get the rest. Yeah, that's good stuff. So the foam's got my voice. So we're gonna edit this from the top. Damn right I gotta eat. Every time I screw up, I gotta get paid. You ain't gonna have a chicken done by the time I'm done messing this finish up.